Well, welcome to Willow Creek Community Church. We're glad you're here tonight for our debate on the topic, Atheism versus Christianity. Where does the evidence point? My name is Lee Strobel. I'm one of the teaching pastors here at Willow Creek, and I am just amazed at the turnout that we've had here tonight. It's unbelievable. I understand they filled the auditorium in 12 seconds. Was that? Almost 5,000 people here in the main auditorium. And then at other places on the property, there are thousands of other people, I think in 6 other locations watching by large screen, including our gymnasium, which to give you an idea, if you've never seen it, it's like 3 basketball courts large. So in addition to that, we have, I don't know how many people, thousands of them, listening on radio. I think the enthusiasm for this debate, which is reflected by all the news media coverage that we received and by the number of radio stations signing up to carry it by satellite, as well as all of you people who've made an effort to be here tonight, is just indicative of how important this topic really is. And so Willow Creek is proud to host this debate and to welcome into our midst not only those who are Christians, we're glad that you're here, but we especially want to welcome those who are atheists or agnostics or skeptics or spiritual seekers, wherever you're at on your spiritual journey. We're glad that you made an effort to be here tonight. Because really the real reason, main reason we want to sponsor this debate was for you. For those of you who are undecided, we didn't want to preach to the already convinced. We really want to be able to communicate to a lot of you who are still on your spiritual journey toward a decision one way or the other. Let you weigh the evidence and make a decision for yourself. So I'm glad we have a mixed crowd tonight, and that should make the evening very interesting. Before we go any further, let me just give you a brief description of how this debate came about. Many of you in Chicago and listening by radio in Chicago will know the name of Rob Sherman. Rob is very well known in Chicago as the national spokesman for American Atheists Incorporated. He is very well known because he files a lot of lawsuits raising issues concerning separation of church and state. And Rob and I have known each other for a number of years. And in fact, last summer I did a message from this podium called What Jesus Would Say to Rob Sherman. And he was sitting right there with his family, which I thought was very courageous of him to come in church. And he came back, too. Several months later, he came back for a program we did where people could ask tough questions about Christianity to a panel of experts. And he asked some questions. And after that interchange, we got to talking, and he said, after hearing this evidence discussed, he said, wouldn't it be great if we could just have somebody lay out the case for atheism as well as it can be articulated, and let somebody lay out the case for Christianity as well as you can do that, and then just let people make up their own minds. And I said, Rob, I think that's a great idea. You go out and get the best possible atheist debater in the world. We'll bring him here. You find the guy that you want to present your case. And I said, we'll go out and we'll find the best possible defender of Christianity that we can get our hands on, and we'll have the debate right here at Willow Creek. And he agreed to that. The leadership of Willow Creek agreed to underwrite all the expenses so that nobody would be turned away because they didn't have, an admission price or something. And so the result is the program that you're at tonight. Now, one important thing that Rob and I talked about right at the outset that's very important to communicate is that we want this debate to be based on facts and evidence and reason, and stay away from a lot of the emotionalism that has clouded this issue so much. That we agreed, even though we radically disagree on the ultimate outcome of where this evidence points, we agreed that we would respect each other. What I would like to do now is to introduce the people who are going to introduce the debaters. These debates get so formal, so. The debater representing the Christian position is going to be introduced by Mark Middleberg. Mark is the Willow Creek Director of Evangelism, and you ought to know this as well. Mark really deserves the lion's share of the credit for organizing this whole thing. So it was a big undertaking. And Mark is going to introduce the Christian debater. But before he does that, Rob Sherman is going to come up and introduce his representative. As I said, Rob is national spokesman for Madeline Murray O'Hare's organization called American Atheists. He has a travel agency here in Buffalo Grove. That's what he does full-time. But he's very passionate about what he believes. And so I'd like to introduce to you Rob Sherman.
Thank you. Well, good evening. I'm a civil rights activist. My expertise is in articulating the civil rights concerns of the atheist community. Frank Zindler is a scholar. His expertise is in articulating the concepts of atheism and the circumstances surrounding the development of your Bible. Frank will make a presentation on how the evidence reflects upon atheism versus Christianity. I will follow Frank's presentation by relating that evidence to my civil rights activity. Your Bible is the testimony of a number of people in support of the proposition that there is a God. Christians accept the credibility of that testimony. Atheists reject the credibility of that testimony. Tonight, Frank Zindler will explain to you why atheists reject your Bible's credibility and why atheists are convinced that God is make-believe. Frank is a former professor of geology and biology, and for the last 10 years he has worked as a linguist and editor for a scientific publisher in Columbus, Ohio. An atheist spokesman like me, Frank has appeared on over 300 radio talk shows to defend atheism and on almost as many national TV shows as I have. The one time that Frank and I appeared together on national TV was on the Morton Downey Jr. show. I wish to thank Willow Creek Community Church and Moody Bible Radio Network for providing this opportunity to debunk the mythology, which is your Bible, and demonstrate that atheism is the philosophy that makes sense. Here to make the presentation in behalf of atheism is my friend from Columbus, Ohio, Frank Zindler.
It is my privilege tonight to introduce the man we've chosen to present the evidence for the Christian position. Although he is a native of Illinois, Dr. William Lane Craig has lived for the last 7 years with his wife and 2 children in Belgium, where he is a visiting scholar at the University of Louvain. Dr. Craig earned a doctorate in philosophy at the University of Birmingham, England, under the direction of the eminent philosopher John Hick. He then earned his second doctorate, this one in theology, at the University of Munich in Germany under Wolfhart Pannenberg. During this time, he received a fellowship from the German government for 2 years to study the historicity of the resurrection of Jesus. Dr. Craig is a member of a number of professional societies, including the American Philosophical Association, the Society of Christian Philosophers, and Science and Religion Forum. Dr. Craig has published a dozen books and numerous articles on both a scholarly and popular level, including these titles: The Cosmological Argument from Plato to Leibniz, Assessing the New Testament Evidence for the Historicity of the Resurrection of Jesus, and his most recent book is being co-authored with an atheist philosopher named Quentin Smith, and that book is called Theism, Atheism, and Big Bang Cosmology. I knew it was truly a privilege for us to have Dr. Craig with us when I heard earlier this week Dr. Dallas Willard, a professor at and former head of the School of Philosophy at the University of Southern California, say that in his opinion, William Lane Craig is, quote, at the top ranks of philosophers, Christian or non-Christian. Will you join me now in welcoming Dr. William Lane Craig?
Welcome to both sides, Frank Zindler and Bill Craig. Glad you could both be here tonight. And as we get started, I want to indicate to you something about the timing that we're going to be sort of doing while they're talking. In other words, these are going to be time segments that they're going to have in order to communicate